Hello there and welcome back to some more Grand Theft Auto 3. Today we'll continue on Let's Play. This is episode 32. In today's episode we are taking a look at the Portland Harbour Import-Export. Should this one have been done before the Shoreside Vale one? No, because this one is very difficult. You can't actually complete this while you're on Portland. One of these vehicles in fact requires you travelling as far as a Shoreside Vale. It's a lot more difficult as it requires you to track down 16 more commercial vehicles compared to the Shoreside Vale one, which was more civilian transport. Thankfully though, quite a few of the vehicles are available in and around Portland Harbour, and the first of which is the, well, coach, thankfully. If it wasn't for this, this might be a bit of a bugger, because this one doesn't really particularly spawn in traffic very often, but thankfully there's a coach depot just around the corner. Grab the coach from there, chuck it in the garage, as we did with the Shoreside Vale one, and you'll get 1500 quid for your time for getting the vehicles, and then of course you'll get a bonus at the end for getting all of them. The next vehicle is the Mule, which spawns in the car park just near the garage itself, so this one really is not a particularly hard find, one of the easiest ones in the game. Again, just drive it into the garage, don't worry about the clearance. Every single vehicle that goes in here can actually make the garage entrance, which is nice. If it didn't, then we could have some issues. Next up, we have the Line Runner truck, which is available just at the end of the harbour, sort of near a bunch of unique stunt jumps. Quite a sort of tall and slow vehicle to drive around, but eventually you'll make it there. It does look like it clips through the ceiling slightly, but I'm not going to complain. Again, drop off 1500 quid. Happy, happy, happy days. Next up, we are going to be taking a look at the Patriots, which actually spawns at the Super Save and will trigger a side mission when you get into it. I can't remember what this one's called. Anyways, to get the vehicle without triggering that side mission, simply use another vehicle or Claude himself to push the vehicle away from the mission start point, like I did with this Perennial, which really does show any vehicle can do it, and drop it off. The car does not have to be in anything close to good condition to be accepted by the garage. They'll accept pretty much anything. I'm sure if it's on fire and you can get out before it turns into an exploding heap, they'll end up accepting it, so don't worry too much about that. I'm not sure if there's any pay bonus associated with the condition of it, but there you go. Next one up is the Romper van, which can be found at the end of the Portland Harbour, just before it goes into Chinatown, just below the armour pickup and the Uzi from Portland. Again, drop it off in the garage, easy peasy. This one can also be found driving around. Not a massively difficult vehicle to find is the Romper. Next up, we have the Mr. Whoopee. This can be occasionally found driving around Chinatown and around Newport, but that's not particularly a common spawn. The best way I've found to get this is to do a firefighter mission and simply wait for it to be one of the targets to put out. Basically put the car out and then you can just go ahead and store it in your garage, as I did with that Mr. Whoopee. Don't worry too much about losing it. Of course, much like the last import-export garage, you can import the cars back once you have all of them. Next up, we have the Yankee, which actually does spawn just behind the garage, near another crane that we'll get to later on. However, I found mine on the road because I forgot it spawned behind there. I actually got the Pony, which was another vehicle which is required for this list, but the Yankee's the slightly more rare of the two. Yeah, if you just sort of go left out of where I'm standing here, you'll find the Yankee. It's sort of near where you park the car in Bomb Base Act 2. Next up, Pony Van, which can just be found driving around Trenton and the Portland docks. Not a hard one to find. There's a couple of spawn locations for it in and around the docks as well. Yeah, Pony you shouldn't really have many issues finding. If you do have any issues finding these vehicles, of course the GTA Wiki can be a decent enough resource, although I find their spawning locations aren't quite the most helpful. They do miss out quite a few different locations that would be easier in the case of this particular side mission. Next up we have the Bobcat. It drives around pretty much everywhere because this is America, trucks are the thing. The Bobcat does have a couple of spawn points, but it's very easy to find this on any island really. You don't have to go out of your way to specially store this one away or anything like that. The Bobcat is one of the most accessible vehicles in the entire game. Next up, we are going to go ahead and get the Moonbeam, which is available at Callahan Point at the Greasy Joe's Diner, along with the Kuruma for the Shoreside Vale one, and also there is another line runner, although I find that line runner can actually be locked occasionally, so definitely just grab the line runner from the same place I did. The Moonbeam, not the most attractive of vehicles. It can move a lot of people though, and by that I mean 4, because this is Grand Theft Auto and for some reason they don't accept the existence of 4-seaters. Next up you have to head to Staunton Island. This one actually can be found around Portland occasionally, but Staunton Island, more specifically the Aspetria district, is the best place to find quite a few of these vehicles, including the Trashmaster, which I found just coming out of the Portland Tunnel. I believe this one may have a spawn point somewhere. It also appears in a couple of missions, so maybe you can stash it from there if you want. But it's not that rare a vehicle. Also, again, Firefighter side mission can be your friend in this case. Simply get that one up, and you will be golden once again. Another 1,500 quid, and back out on the hunt you go. Next up is the bus, another vehicle that can be found randomly around Aspatria. It can also occasionally drive into Bedford Point, although Aspatria is the best place to find this one. I believe it spawns occasionally in Portland as well, but I wouldn't really hold up much hope out for that. The bus is one of the rarest vehicles in the entire game, and ironically enough, in every Grand Theft Auto game it's ever been in, the bus is always a hard vehicle to come across, so make of that what you will. Not the most attractive of vehicles, but I actually quite like the bus. I like the sort of smooth rear end on it and stuff like that. But anyways, with a tear in my eye, I dropped that one off to the Portland garage once again. Next up, heading out on the road, we have the Flatbed, which also does not have a spawn point, but essentially can be found driving around Aspatria, and also occasionally over the Callahan Bridge, which is where I found this one. Got quite lucky in that case, although later on my luck would very quickly run out. This list actually took me about 2 hours to fully complete, which is the longest I've ever spent on any side mission in this game so far, so yeah, not a good sign there. So that's the Flatbed. We're left with the Blitzer, the Sakura car, and the Dodo. The next one I aimed for was the Blitzer. This has 2 spawn points near Asuka's pad. It has one directly just across from where she lives, and it also has one at the Paint Spray. Apparently the Paint Spray one did not want to spawn for me for the first time in ever, so I had to pick it up from the other place. The Blitzer doesn't really spawn around Portland, but it does spawn in the other 2 districts, so definitely wait for those to be unlocked before trying that one, unless you want to go it through the Firefighter side mission, which you can get all but one of these vehicles. And next up, the Sakura van. This one took about 2 hours to spawn in after driving around Aspatria aimlessly. It can also occasionally spawn in Chinatown, but yeah, Aspatria is the easier of the places. Even then, this one was an absolute fucking ball ache to get a hang of. Yeah, really did not like finding the Sakura van. As much as I like the Sakura car, I'm fairly certain my opinion of it has gone drastically down from trying to track one of them twats down. And finally, that leaves but one vehicle left for the pickings, and it is the Dodo, the flightless bird. The way I found best to get this is by driving it on the roads. The game technically classes as a car, and it's actually pretty easy to drive as a car. It's a lot easier to drive it as a car than fly it as a plane, because it doesn't really like to fly, the good old Dodo. But if you're better at flying it than me, you can do that. But yeah, simply park this one in the garage, which it does fit because of its small wingspan, and then finally drop that off for an extra $200,000. And of course, similar to the Shoreside Vale garage, you can walk into any of these markers to spawn whichever one of these vehicles that you want, and yeah, make yourself happy, make yourself a Dodo happier, or a Mr. Whoopee, or whatever you want to do. As usual, walk into whichever marker you want, go outside, wait for the door to drop down, wait for it to open up again, and your brand new vehicle will be there for you. So that is import-export done on the 2 lists anyways. There is one more import-export, but we'll get to that a little bit later on. Thank you all very much for watching. Next time we're going to be taking a look at something. I can't actually remember what it is. Oh wait, yes, I know what it is. Stay tuned for the next episode, which isn't really required for 100%, but I figured I'd show it off anyway. Yeah, and until next time, thank you very much for watching, and farewell.
a Rockefeller lately. Watch the sun go down. Watch the sun go down. Was it like a rainy day?